Title: The Weight of Regret. James Carter had always been a man of excuses. "I'll do it later," was his favorite phrase. Whether it was calling an old friend, fixing a broken chair, or chasing a dream, later always seemed like the right time. The dreams that waited too long. In his 20s, James had big dreams. He wanted to be a writer. His mind overflowed with stories waiting to be told, but fear of failure kept his hands idle. "I'll start next year," he told himself. But next year turned into the year after, and the cycle continued. He convinced himself that writing was a luxury, something he could afford to do only once he had built a stable career. Life carried him forward. He secured a steady job in finance, a field that never excited him but provided security. He married a wonderful woman named Lisa, whose unwavering support was a source of comfort, and they had 2 beautiful children. Every night, as he tucked his children into bed, he promised himself that one day he would tell them stories of his own creation. But days blurred into years, and those stories remained locked inside his mind. Lisa often encouraged him to write, sensing the weight of an unfulfilled dream on his shoulders. "James, you light up when you talk about your stories. Why not put them on paper?" she would say. But he'd shake his head and reply, "Maybe when things settle down." The conversation that changed everything. One evening, while attending a high school reunion, James ran into an old friend, Daniel Harris. Daniel had once been an aspiring musician, but unlike James, he had taken a risk. Now, he was a well-known composer. The moment their eyes met across the room, nostalgia and bittersweet recognition flashed between them. "James Carter, the storyteller," Daniel exclaimed, gripping his friend's shoulders. "I always thought you'd be famous by now." James chuckled awkwardly. "Yeah, well, life gets in the way." Daniel shook his head, a sad smile on his lips. "No, James, fear gets in the way." The words lingered in James's mind long after the reunion. That night, he stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, haunted by the question, what if Daniel was right? The shock that woke him up. A few days later, James received devastating news. Daniel had passed away in a sudden car accident. The shock hit James hard, knocking the breath from his lungs. If Daniel had waited, if he had put off his dreams like James had, his music would have died with him. The thought was unbearable. Determined to finally act, James went into the attic and found an old, dust-covered notebook filled with story ideas. He traced his fingers over the faded ink, memories of his younger self flooding back. With trembling hands, he sat at his desk, heart pounding, and wrote the first page of what would become his debut novel. The battle between passion and doubt weeks turned into months, and for the first time in decades, he felt alive. He would write late into the night, his fingers flying over the keyboard, pouring his soul into his words. Lisa was his biggest supporter, reading every chapter, encouraging him to keep going. But the road was not easy. As the manuscript neared completion, James faced a new struggle, self-doubt. "What if it's not good enough?" he whispered to Lisa one night. His voice trembled, raw with vulnerability. She took his hands in hers and smiled. "James, the only failure is not trying. Keep going." Those words became his anchor. He pressed on, polishing every sentence with care. The day he finished his first draft, he felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment, one he had never known before. The cruel hand of fate. But just as things were falling into place, tragedy struck. One evening, as he sat at his desk revising a chapter, a searing pain shot through his chest. He collapsed, gasping for air. Lisa found him moments later and rushed him to the hospital. The doctors confirmed the worst he had, a rare heart condition that had gone undetected for years. He had months, maybe weeks. The news sent James into a spiral. He thought of his family, the unfinished dreams, the wasted years. But Lisa, ever his rock, reminded him that his story still had time to be told. "Finish what you started," she urged. "Don't let regret be your last thought." The final pages. With newfound urgency, James worked tirelessly to complete the novel. His health declined rapidly, but he refused to give up. Late nights turned into dawn, pain turned into words, and in the quiet hours of the morning, he finally typed, "The end." Lisa promised she would see it published, no matter what. James smiled, knowing his words would live on, even if he wouldn't. As he lay in his hospital bed, weak but content, James whispered, "I wasted so much time. I should have started sooner." Lisa squeezed his hand. "You started. That's what matters." James passed away days later, his novel resting on his bedside table. Lisa honored her promise, and to their family's surprise, the book became a success. James's words, though late, found their way into the world, inspiring countless readers. The legacy that lived on. Years later, at a book signing event, Lisa met a young aspiring writer who had been deeply moved by James's story. "He gave me the courage to start writing," the young man said with tears in his eyes. Lisa felt a lump rise in her throat. James had once feared that his words would never matter, yet here was proof that they did. She looked at the young writer, her heart swelling with pride. Then honor his story by writing yours. Don't wait. Start today. Lesson to be learned. Regret is the heaviest burden to carry. If you have a dream, don't wait. Start today, because later may never come.